Alright, fam squatters. Maybe move this out of the way. Cool. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's do some more blogging. And by blogging, let's do Martians. Let's do 2 chapters of The Martian. Chapter 22. Log entry soul 458. Meowth Vallis. I'm kidding. Marth Vallis. I'm finally here. Actually, it's not an impressive accomplishment. I've only been traveling 10 souls, but it's a good psychological milestone. So far, the rover and my ghetto life support are working admirably, at least as well as can be expected for equipment being used 10 times longer than intended. Today is my second air day. The first was 5 souls right now. When I put this scheme together, I figured air days would be god-awful boring. But now I look forward to them. They're my days off. On a normal day, I get up, fold up the bedroom, stack the solar cells, drive 4 hours, set up the solar cells, unfurl the bedroom, check all my equipment, especially the rover chassis and wheels, then make a Morse code status report for NASA if I can find enough nearby rocks. On an air day, I wake up and turn on the oxygenator. The solar panels are already out from the day before. Everything's ready to go. Then I chill out in the bedroom or rover. I have the whole day to myself. The bedroom gives me enough space that I don't feel cooped up, and the computer has plenty of terrible TV reruns for me to enjoy. Technically, I entered Marth Vallis yesterday, but I only knew that by looking at a map. The entrance to the valley is wide enough that I couldn't see the canyon walls in either direction. But now I'm definitely in a canyon, and the bottom is nice and flat. Exactly what I was hoping for. It's amazing. This valley wasn't made by a river slowly carving it away. It was made by a mega flood in a single day. It would have been a hell of a thing to see. Weird thought, I'm not in an Acidalia Planitia anymore. I spent 457 souls there, almost a year and a half, and I'll never go back. I wonder if I'll be nostalgic about that later in life. If there is a later in life, I'll be happy to endure a little nostalgia. For now, I just want to go home. Then there's a break. Welcome back to CNN's Mark Watney Report, Kathy said to the camera. We're speaking with our frequent guest, Dr. Venkat Kapoor. Dr. Kapoor! I guess what people want to know is Mark Watney doomed? We hope not, Venkat responded, but he's got a real challenge ahead of him. According to your latest satellite data, the dust storm in Arabia Terra isn't abating at all, and will block 80% of the sunlight. That's correct. And Watney's only source of energy is his solar panels, correct? Yeah, that's right. Can his makeshift rover operate at 20% power? We haven't found any way to make that happen, no. His life support alone takes more energy than that. How long until he enters the storm? He's just entered Marth Vallis now. At his current rate of travel, he will be at the edge of the storm on source 471. That's 12 days from now. Surely he'll see something is wrong, Kathy said. With such low visibility, it won't take long for him to realize his solar cells will have a problem. Couldn't he just turn around at that point? Unfortunately, everything's working against him, Venkat said. The edge of the storm isn't a magic line. It's just an area where the dust gets a little more dense. It'll keep on getting more and more dense as he travels onward. It'll be real subtle. Every day will be slightly darker than the last. Too subtle to notice. Venkat sighed. He'll go hundreds of kilometers, wondering why his solar panel efficiency is going down before he notices any visibility problems, and the storm is moving in west as he moves east. He'll be in too deep to get out. Are we just watching a tragedy play out? Kathy asked. There's always hope, Venkat said. Maybe he'll figure it out faster than we think and turn around in time. Maybe the storm will dissipate unexpectedly. Maybe he'll find a way to keep his life support going on less energy than we thought was possible. Mark Watney is now an expert at surviving on Mars. If anyone can do it, it's him. 12 days, Kathy said to the camera. All of Earth is watching, but powerless to help. Log entry Sol 462. Another uneventful Sol. Tomorrow is an air day, so this is kind of my Friday night. I'm about halfway through Marth Vallis now, just as I'd hoped. This going has been easy. No major elevation changes, hardly any obstacles. Just smooth sand with rocks smaller than half a meter. You may be wondering how I navigate. No, we don't. When I went to Pathfinder, I watched Phobos transit the sky to figure out the east-west axis. But Pathfinder was an easy trip compared to this, and I had plenty of landmarks to navigate by. I can't get away with that this time. My map, such as it is, consists of satellite images far too low resolution to be of any use. I can only see major landmarks, like craters 50 kilometers across. They just never expected me to be out this far. The only reason I had high-res images of the Pathfinder region is because they were included for landing purposes, in case Martinus had to land way long of our target. So this time around, I needed a reliable way to fix my position on Mars. Latitude and longitude, that's the key. The first is easy. Ancient sailors on Earth figured that one out right away. Earth's 23.5 degree axis points at Polaris. Mars has a tilt of just over 25 degrees, so it's pointed at Deneb. Making a sextant isn't hard. All you need is a tube to look through, a string, a weight, and something with degree markings. I made mine in under an hour. So I kinda go out every night with a homemade sextant and sight Deneb. It's kinda silly when you think about it. I'm in my spacesuit on Mars and I'm navigating with 16th century tools. But hey, they work. Longitude is a different matter. On Earth, the earliest way to work out longitude required them to know the exact time, then compare it to the sun's position in the sky. The hard part for them back then was inventing a clock that would work on a boat. All the top scientific minds of the age have worked on the problem. Fortunately, I have accurate clocks. There are 4 computers in my immediate line of sight right now, and I have Phobos. Because Phobos is ridiculously close to Mars, it orbits the planet in less than 1 Martian day. It travels west to east, unlike the sun in Deimos, and sets every 11 hours, and naturally it moves in a very predictable pattern. I spend 13 hours every sol just sitting around while the solar panels charge the batteries. Phobos is guaranteed to set at least once during that time. I know the time when it does. Then I plug it into a nasty formula I worked out and I know my longitude. So working out longitude requires Phobos to set, and working out latitude requires it to be night so I can sight Deneb. It's not a very fast system, but I only need it once a day. I work out my location when I'm parked, and account for the next day's travel. It's kind of a successive approximation thing. So far, I think it's been working, but who knows, I can see it now. Me holding a map, scratching my head, trying to figure out how I ended up on Venus. And then there's a break again. Mindy Park zoomed in on the latest satellite photo with practiced ease. Watney's encampment was visible in the center. The solar cell was laid out in a circular pattern as was his habit. The workshop was inflated. Checking the timestamp on the image, she saw it was from noon local time. She quickly found the status report. Watney always placed it close to the rover when rocks were in abundance, usually to the north. To save time, Mindy had taught herself Morse code, so she wouldn't have to look up each letter every morning. She opened an email and addressed it to the ever-growing list of people who wanted Watney's daily status message. On track for Sol 494 arrival. She frowned and added, "Note, 5 sols until dust storm entry." Log entry Sol 466. Marth Vallis was fun while it lasted. I'm in Arabia Terra now. I just entered the edge of it, if my latitude and longitude calculations are correct. But even without the math, it's pretty obvious the terrain is changing. From the last two sols, I spent almost all my time on an incline, working my way back up the back wall, working my way up the back wall of Martha Vallis. It was a gentle rise, but a constant one. I'm at a much higher altitude now. Acidalia Planitia, where the lovely Hab is hanging out, is 3,000 meters below elevation zero, and Arabia Terra is 500 meters below, so I've gone up 2.5 kilometers. Want to know what elevation zero means? On Earth, it's sea level. Obviously, that won't work on Mars. So, lab-coded geeks got together and decided Mars elevation zero is wherever the air pressure is 610.5 pascals. That's about 500 meters up from where I am right now. Now, things get tricky. Back in Acidalia Planitia, if I got off course, I could just point in the right direction based on new data. Later in Martha Vallis, it was impossible to screw up. I just had to follow the canyon. Now I'm in a rougher neighborhood, the kind of neighborhood where you keep your rover doors locked and never come to a complete stop at intersections. Well, not really, but it's bad to get off course here. Arabia Terra has large, brutal craters that I have to drive around. If I navigate poorly, I'll end up at the edge of one. I can't just drive down one side and up the other. Rising in elevation costs a ton of energy. On flat ground, I can make 90 kilometers per day. On a steep slope, I'd be lucky to get 40 kilometers. Plus, driving on a slope is dangerous. One mistake and I could roll the rover. I don't even want to think about that. Yes, I'll eventually have to drive down into Schiaparelli. No way around that. I'll have to be real careful. Anyways, if I end up at the edge of a crater, I'll have to backtrack to somewhere useful. And it's a maze of craters out here. I'll have to be on my guard, observant at all times. I'll need to navigate with landmarks as well as latitude and longitude. My first challenge is to pass between the craters Rutherford and Trouvelot. It shouldn't be too hard. They're 100 kilometers apart. Even I can't screw that up, right? Log entry Sol 468. My neck is killing me. I need a better. Hold on. That's much better. Log entry Sol 468. I managed to thread the needle between Rutherford and Trouvelot nicely. Admittedly, the needle was 100 kilometers wide, but hey. I'm now enjoying my 4th air day of the trip. I've been on the road for 20 sols. So far, I'm right on schedule. According to my maps, I traveled 1,440 kilometers. Not quite halfway there, but almost. I've been gathering soil and rock samples from each place I camp. I did the same thing on my way to Pathfinder, but this time I know NASA's watching me, so I'm labeling each sample by the current sol. They'll know my location a hell of a lot more accurately than I do. They can correlate the samples with their locations later. It might be a wasted effort. The map isn't going to have much weight allowance when I launch. To intercept Hermes, it'll have to reach escape velocity, but it was only designed to get to orbit. The only way to get it going fast enough is to lose a lot of weight. At least that jury rigging will be NASA's job to figure out, not mine. Once I get to the MAV, I'll be in contact with them and they can tell me what modifications to make. They'll probably say, thanks for getting samples, but leave them behind, and one of your arms too, whichever one you like least. But on the off chance I can bring the samples, I'm gathering them. The next few days' travel should be easy. The next major obstacle is Marth Crater. It's right in my straight line path towards Schiaparelli. It'll cost me 100 kilometers or so to get around, but it can't be helped. I'll try to aim for the southern edge. The closer I get to the rim, the less time I'll waste going around it. And there's a break. Did you read today's updates? Lewis asked, pulling her meal from the microwave. Yeah, Martinez said, sipping his drink. She sat across the rec table from him and carefully opened the steaming package. She decided to let it cool a bit before eating. Mars entered a dust storm yesterday. Yeah, I saw that, he said. We need to face the possibility that he won't make it to Schiaparelli, Lewis said. If that happens, we need to keep morale up. We still have a long way to go before we get home. He was dead before, Martinez said. It was rough on morale, but we soldiered on. Besides, he won't die. It's pretty bleak, Rick, Lewis said. He is already 50 kilometers into the storm, and he will go another 90 kilometers per soul. He will get in too deep to recover soon. Martinez shook his head. He will pull through, Commander. Have faith. She smiled forlornly. Rick, you know I'm not religious. I know, he said. I'm not talking about faith in God. I'm talking about faith in Mark Watney. Look at all the crap Mars has thrown at him, and he's still alive. He will survive this. I don't know how, but he will. He's a clever son of a bitch. Lewis took a bite of her food. I hope you're right. Want to bet $100? Martinez said with a smile. Of course not, Lewis said. Damn right, he smiled. I'd never bet on a crewmate dying, Lewis said. But that doesn't mean I think he'll... Blah, 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 Martinez interrupted. Deep down, you'll think he'll make it. You think he will make it, yeah. Log entry Sol 473. My 5th air day, and things are going well. I should be skimming south of Marth Crater tomorrow. It'll get easier than that. I'm in the middle of a bunch of craters that form a triangle. I'm calling it the Watney Triangle because after what I've been through, stuff on Mars should be named after me. Trouvelot, Becquerel, and Marth. Trouvelot, Becquerel, and Marth form the points of the triangle, with 5 other major craters along the sides. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem at all, but with my extremely rough navigation, I could easily end up at the lip of one of them and have to backtrack. After Marth, I'll be out of the Watney Triangle. Then I can beeline towards Schiaparelli with impunity. There will still be plenty of craters in the way, but they're comparatively small, and going around them won't cost much time. Progress has been great. Arabia Terra is certainly rockier than Acidalia Planitia, but nowhere near as bad as I feared. I've been able to drive over most of the rocks, and around the ones that are too big. I have 1435 kilometers left to go. I did some research on Schiaparelli and found some good news. The best way in is right now in my direct line path. I won't have to drive the perimeter at all, and the way in is easy to find, even when you suck at navigating. The northwest rim has a smaller crater in it, and that's the landmark I'll be looking for. To the southwest of that little crater is a gentle slope into Schiaparelli Basin. The little crater doesn't have a name, at least not in the maps I have, so I dubbed it Watney Crater, because I can. In other news, my equipment is starting to show signs of age. Not surprising considering it's way past its expiration date. For the past 2 sols, the batteries have taken longer to recharge. The solar cells just aren't producing as much wattage as before. It's not a big deal, I just need to charge a little longer. Log entry Sol 474. Oh, I screwed it up. It was bound to happen eventually. I navigated badly and ended up at the ridge of Marth Crater. Because it's 100 kilometers wide, I can't see the whole thing, so I don't know where on the circuit I am. The ridge was perpendicular to the direction I was going, so I have no clue which way I should go, and I don't want to take the long way around if I can avoid it. Originally, I just wanted to go to the south, but north is just as likely to be the best path now that I'm off course. I'll have to wait for another Phobos transit to get my longitude, and I will need to wait for nightfall to sight Deneb for my latitude, so I'm done driving for the day. Luckily, I've made 70 kilometers out of the 90 kilometers I usually do, so it's not too much of wasted progress. Marth isn't too steep. I could probably just drive down one side and up the other. It's big enough that I'd end up camping inside it one night, but I don't want to take unnecessary risks. Slopes are bad and should be avoided. I gave myself plenty of buffer time, so I'm gonna play it safe. I'm ending tonight's drive early and setting up for recharge. Probably a good idea anyway with the solar cells acting up. It will give them more time to work. The underperformed again last night. I checked all the connections and made sure there wasn't any dust on them, but they still just aren't 100%. Log entry sold 495. I'm in trouble. I watched 2 Phobos transits yesterday and sighted the Neb last night. I worked out my location as accurately as I could, and it wasn't what I wanted to see. As far as I can tell, I hit Marth Crater dead on. I can go north or south. One of them will probably be better than the other because there will be a shorter path around the crater. I figured I should put at least a little effort into figuring out which direction was best, so I took a little walk this morning. It was over a kilometer to the peak of the rim. That's the sort of walk people do on Earth without thinking twice, but in an EVA suit, it's an ordeal. I can't wait until I have grandchildren. When I was younger, I had to walk to the rim of a crater, uphill, in an EVA suit, on Mars, you know, brat. You hear me? Mars. Anyways, I got to the rim, and it's a beautiful sight. From my high vantage point, I got a stunning panorama. I figured I might be able to see the far side of Marth Crater, and maybe work out the best way around. But I couldn't see the far side. There was a haze in the air. It's not uncommon, Mars has weather and wind and dust after all. But it seemed hazier than it should. I'm accustomed to the wide open expanses of Acidalia Planitia, my former prairie home. Then it got weirder. I turned around and looked back towards the rover and trailer. Everything was where I left it. Very few car thieves on Mars, but the view seemed a lot clearer. I looked east across Marth again, then west to the horizon, then east, then west. Each turn required me to rotate my entire body, EVA suits being what they are. Yesterday I passed the crater. It's about 50 kilometers west of here. It's just visible on the horizon. But looking east, I can't see anything near that far. Marth Crater is 110 kilometers wide. With a visibility of 50 kilometers, I should be at least able to see a distant curvature of the rim, but I can't. At first, I didn't know what to make of it, but the lack of symmetry bothered me, and I've learned to be suspicious of everything. That's when a bunch of stuff dawned on me. The only explanation for asymmetrical visibility is a dust storm. Dust storms reduce the effectiveness of solar cells. My solar cells have been slowly losing effectiveness for several sols. From this, I concluded the following. Number 1, I've been in a dust storm for several sols. Number 2, crap. Not only am I in a dust storm, but it gets thicker as I approach Schiaparelli. A few hours ago, I was worried because I had to go around Marth Crater. Now I'm gonna have to go around something a lot bigger. And I have to hustle. Dust storms move. Sitting still means I'll likely get overwhelmed. But which way do I go? It's no longer an issue of trying to be efficient. If I go the wrong way this time, I'll eat dust and die. I don't have satellite imagery. I have no way of knowing the size or shape of the storm or its heading. Man, I'd give anything for a 5-minute conversation with NASA. Now that I think of it, NASA must be sweating bullets watching this play out. I'm on the clock. I have to figure out how to figure out what I need to know about the storm, and I have to do it now. And right this second, nothing comes to mind. And then that's the last break. Mindy trudged to her computer. Today's shift began at 2:10 p.m. Her schedule matched Watney's every day. She slept when he slept. Watney simply slept at night on Mars, while Mindy had to drift 40 minutes forward every day, taping aluminum foil to her windows to get any sleep at all. She brought up the most recent satellite images. She cocked an eyebrow. He had not broken camp yet. Usually he drove in the early morning, as soon as it was light enough to navigate. Then he capitalized on the midday sun to maximize recharging. But today he'd not moved, and it was well past morning. She checked around the rovers on the bedroom for a message. She found it in the usual place, north of the campsite. As she read the Morse code, her eyes widened. Dust storm, making plan. Fumbling with her cell phone, she dialed Venkat's personal number. And then we go on to chapter 23. Chapter 23. Chiaparelli 23. Log entry soul 476. I think I can work this out. I'm on the very edge of a storm. I don't know its size or heading, but it's moving, and that's something I can take advantage of. I don't want to have to wander around exploring it. It'll come to me. The storm is just dust in the air. It's not dangerous to the rovers. I can think of it as percent power loss. I checked yesterday's power generation, and it was 90%, 97% of optimal. So right now it's a 3% storm. I need to make progress, and I need to regenerate oxygen. Those are my two main goals. I use 20% of my overall power to reclaim oxygen when I stop for air days. If I end up in an 81% part of the storm, I'll be in real trouble. I'll run out of oxygen even if I dedicate all available power to producing it. That's the fatal scenario. But really, it's fatal much earlier than that. I need power to move, or I'll be stranded until the storm passes or dissipates. That could be months. The more power I generate, the more I'll have for movement. With clear skies, I dedicate 80% of my total power towards movement. I get 90 kilometers per soul this way. So right now, at 3% loss, I'm getting 2.7 kilometers less than I should. It's okay to lose some driving distance per soul. I have plenty of time. But I can't let myself get too deep in the storm, or I'll never be able to get out. At the very least, I need to travel faster than the storm. If I can go faster, I can maneuver around it without getting enveloped. So I need to find out how fast it's moving. I can do that by sitting here for a soul. I can compare tomorrow's wattages to today's. All I have to do is make sure to compare at the same times a day. Then I'll know how fast the storm is moving, at least in terms of percent power loss. But I need to know the shape of the storm too. Dust storms are big. They can be thousands of kilometers across. So when I work my way around it, I'll need to know which way to go. I want to move perpendicular to the storm's movement, and in whatever direction has less storm. Right now, I can go 86 kilometers. Tomorrow, I'm going to leave a solar cell here and drive 40 kilometers due south. Then I'll drop another solar cell and drive another 40 kilometers due south. That'll give me 3 points of reference across 80 kilometers. The next day, I'll go back to collect the souls and get the data. By comparing the wattage at the same time of day in those 3 locations, I'll learn the shape of the storm. If the storm is thicker in the south, I'll go north to get around it. If it's thicker north, I'll go south. I'm hoping to go south. Chiaparelli is southeast of me. Going north would add a lot of time to my total trip. There's one slight problem with my plan. I don't have any way to record the wattage from an abandoned solar cell. I can easily track and log wattage with a robot computer, but I need something I can drop off and leave behind. I can't just take readings on it as I drive along. I need readings at the same time in different places. So I'm going to spend today working on some mad science. I had to make something that can log wattage, something I can leave behind for the single solar cell. Since I'm stuck here for the day anyways, I'll leave the solar cells out. I may as well get a full battery out of it. Log entry soul 477. It took all day yesterday and today, but I think I'm ready to measure this storm. I need a way to log the time of day and the wattage of each solar cell. One of the cells would be with me, but the other 2 would be dropped off and left far away. And the solution was the extra EVA suit I brought along. EVA suits have cameras recording everything they see. There's one on the right arm, and another above the faceplate. The timestamp is buried in the lower left corner of the image, just like on the shaky home videos Dad used to take. My electronics kit has several power meters, so I figured, why make my own logging system? I can just film the power meter all day long. So that's what I set up. When I packed for this road trip, I made sure to bring all my kits and tools, just in case I had to repair the rover on the road. First, I harvested the cameras for my spare EVA suit. I had to be careful. I didn't want to ruin the suit. It's my only spare. I extracted the cameras and the lines leading up to the memory chips. I put a power meter inside a small sample container, and then glued the camera to the underside of the lid. When I sealed up the container, camera was properly recording the readout of the power meter. For testing, I used rover power. How will my logger get power once I abandon it on the surface? It will be attached to a 2 square meter solar cell. That will provide plenty of power. I put a small rechargeable battery in a container to tide it over during nighttime. The next problem was heat, or the lack thereof. As soon as I take the thing out of the rover, it will start cooling down mighty fast. If it gets too cold, the electronics will stop working.
Fuck you,
My nasty ass face, man. Okay. So I need a heat source, and my electronics kit provided the answer. Resistors. Lots and lots of them. Resistors heat up. That's what they do. The camera and the power meter only need a tiny fraction of what a solar cell can make, so the rest of the energy goes to resistors. I made and tested 2 power loggers, and confirmed the images were being properly recorded. Then I had an EVA. I detached 2 of my solar cells and hooked them up to power loggers. I let them log happily for an hour, and brought them back in to check the results. They worked great. It's getting towards nightfall now. Tomorrow morning, I'll leave 1 power logger behind and head south. While I was working, I left the oxygenator going. Why not? So I'm all stocked up on O2 and good to go. The solar cell efficiency for today was 92.5%, compared to yesterday's 97%. This proves the storm is moving east to west, because the denser part of the storm was to the east yesterday. So right now, the sunlight in this area is dropping by 4.5% per sol. If I were to stay here another 16 sols, it would get dark enough to kill me. Just as well I'm not going to stay here. Log entry Sol 478. Everything went as planned today. No hiccups. I can't tell if I'm driving deeper into the storm or out of it. It's hard to tell if the ambient light is less or more than it was yesterday. The human brain works hard to abstract that out. I left the power logger behind when I started out. And after 40 kilometers traveled due south, I had a quick EVA to set up another. Now I've gone the full 80 kilometers and set up my solar cells for charging, and I'm logging the wattage. Tomorrow I'll have to reverse course and pick up the power loggers. It may be dangerous, but I'll be driving right back into a known storm area. It may be dangerous, since I'll be driving right back into a known storm area. But the risk is worth the gain. Also, have I mentioned I'm sick of potatoes? Because by all that's holy, I am sick of potatoes. If I ever return to Earth, I'm going to buy a nice little home in Western Australia. Because Western Australia is on the opposite side of Earth from Idaho. I'm bringing it up because I dined on a meal pack today. I had saved 5 packs for special occasions. I ate the first of them 29 sols ago when I left for Chaparral, and I totally forgot to eat the second when I reached the halfway point a few sols ago. So I'm enjoying my belated halfway feast. But it's probably more accurate to eat it today anyways. Who knows how long it'll take me to go around the storm. And if I end up stuck in the storm and doomed to die, I'm totally eating the other earmarked meals. Log entry Sol 479. Have you ever taken the wrong freeway entrance? You just need to drive to the next exit to turn around, but you hate every inch of travel because you're going away from your goal. I felt like that all the day. I'm now back where I started yesterday morning. Along the way, I picked up the power logger I left behind at a halfway point. Just now, I brought in the one that I left here yesterday. Both loggers worked the way I hoped. I downloaded each of their video recordings to a laptop and advanced them to noon. Finally, I had solar efficiency readings from three locations along an 80-kilometer line, all from the same time of day. As of noon yesterday, the northernmost logger showed 12.3% efficiency loss, the middle one had a 9.5% loss, and the rover recorded a 6.4% loss at its southernmost location. It paints a pretty clear picture. The storm is north of me, and I already worked out its traveling west. So I should be able to avoid it by heading south a ways, letting it get past me to the north, and heading east again. Finally, some good news. Southeast is what I wanted. I won't have Ow, I won't lose much time. Sigh, I have to drive the same path a third time tomorrow. Log entry Sol 480. I think I'm getting ahead of the storm. Having traveled along Mars Highway 1 all day, I'm back at my campsite from yesterday. Tomorrow I'll finally make real headway again. I was done driving and had the camp set up by noon. The efficiency last year is 15.6%, compared to the 17% loss at yesterday's camp. This means I can outrun the storm as long as I keep heading south. Hopefully. The storm is probably circular. They usually are, but I could just be driving into an outpost. If that's the case, I'm just dead, okay? There's not much I can do. I'll know soon enough. If the storm is circular, I should get better and better efficiency every day until I'm back to 100%. Once I reach 100%, that means I'm completely south of the storm and I can start going east again. We'll see. If there was no storm, I'd be going directly southeast towards my goal. As it is, going only south, I'm not nearly as fast. I'm traveling 90 kilometers per day as usual, but I only get 37 kilometers closer to Schiaparelli because Pythagoras is a jerk. I don't know when I'll finally clear the storm and be able to beeline to Schiaparelli again, but one thing's for sure. My plan to arrive on Sol 494 is boned. Sol 549. That's when they come for me. If I miss it, I'll spend the rest of my very short life, and I still have the math to modify it before then too. Sheesh. Log entry Sol 482. Air Day, a time for relaxation and speculation. For relaxation, I read 80 pages of Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun, courtesy of Johansson's digital book collection. I think Linda Marshall is the murderer. As for speculation, I speculated on what the hell I'd get past the storm. I'm still going due south every day, and still dealing with efficiency loss, even though I'm keeping ahead of it. Every day of this crap, I'm only getting 37 kilometers closer to the knob instead of 90, which is irritating. I considered skipping the air day. I could go another couple of days before I ran out of oxygen, and getting away from the storm is pretty important, but I decided against it. I'm far enough ahead of the storm that I can afford one day of no movement, and I don't know if a couple more days would help. Who knows how far south the storm goes? Well, NASA probably knows. And the news stations back on Earth are probably showing it. And there's probably a website like watchmarkwatneyguy.com. So there's like 100 million people or so who know exactly how far south it goes. But I'm not one of them. Log entry Sol 484. Finally, I am finally past the storm. Today's power region was 100%. No more dust in the air. With the storm moving perpendicular to my direction of travel, it means I'm south of the southernmost point of the cloud. Starting tomorrow, I can go directly towards Schiaparelli, which is good because I lost a lot of time. I went 540 kilometers due south while avoiding the storm. I'm catastrophically off course. Mind you, it hasn't been that bad. I'm well into Terra Meridiani now, and the driving is a little easier here than the rugged terrain of Arabia Terra. Schiaparelli is almost due east. If my sextant and Phobos calculations are correct, I've got another 1030 kilometers to get there. Accounting for air days and presuming 90 kilometers of travel per Sol, I should arrive on Sol 498. Not too bad, really. The nearly mark-killing storm only ended up delaying me by 4 sols. I'll still have 44 more sols to do whatever math modifications NASA has in mind. Log entry Sol 487. I have an interesting opportunity, and by opportunity here, I mean opportunity. I got pushed so far off course, I'm not actually far from the Mars Exploration Rover Opportunity. It's about 300 kilometers away. I could get there in about 4 sols. Man, it's tempting. If I could get Opportunity's radio working, I'd be in touch with humanity again. NASA would continually tell me my exact position and best course, warn me if another storm was on the way, and generally be there watching over me. What if I'm being honest? That's not the real reason I'm interested. I'm sick of being on my own. Once I got Pathfinder working, I got used to talking on Earth. I got used to talking to Earth. All that went away because I learned the drill, because I leaned the drill against the wrong table, and now I'm alone again. I could end that in just 4 souls. But it's an irrational, stupid thought. I'm only 11 souls away from the mob. Why go out of my way to dig up another broken rover to use as a makeshift radio when I have a brand new, fully functional communication system within a couple of weeks? So while it's really tempting that I'm within striking range of another rover, it's not the smart move. Besides, I've defiled enough future historical sites for now. Future historical sites, eh? Log entry soul 492. I need to put some thought into the bedroom. Right now, I can only have it set up when I'm inside the rover. It attaches to the airlock, so I can't get out if it's there. During my road trip, that doesn't matter, because I have to throw it every day anyways. But once I get to the mob, I won't have to drive around anymore. Each decompress, recompress of the bedroom stresses the seams, so it's best if I can find a way to leave it out. Holy crap, I just realized I actually believe I'll get to the mob. See what I did there? I casually talked about what I'll do after I get to the mob. Like it was nothing, no big deal. I'm just going to pop over to Chaparral and hang with the mob there. Nice. Anyways, I don't have another airlock. I've got one on the rover and one on the trailer, and that's it. They're firmly fixed in place, so it's not like I can detach one and attach it to the bedroom. But I can seal the bedroom entirely. I don't even have to do any hatchet jobs on it. The airlock attachment point has a flap I can unroll and seal the opening with. Remember, I stole the airlock attachment from the prop tent, which is an emergency feature of pressure loss wall in the rover. It'd be pretty useless if it couldn't seal itself off. Unfortunately, as an emergency device, it was never intended to be reusable. The idea was that people seal themselves in the prop tent, and the rest of the crew drives to wherever they are in the other rover and rescues them. The crew of the good rover detaches the prop tent from the breached rover and reattaches it to theirs, and they cut through the seal from the other side to recover their crewmates. To make sure this would always be an option, mission rules dictated no more than 3 people could be in a rover at once, and both rovers had to be fully functional or we couldn't use either. So here's my brilliant plan. I won't use the bedroom as a bedroom anymore once I get to the mob. I'll use it to house the oxygenator and atmospheric regulator. Then I'll use the trailer as my bedroom. Neat, huh? The trailer has tons of space. I put a buttload of work into making sure that would happen. The balloon gives plenty of headroom. Not a lot of floor space, but still plenty of vertical area. Also, the bedroom has several valve apertures in its canvas. I have the hob design to thank for that. The canvas I stole from it has valve apertures. NASA wanted to make sure the hob could be refilled from the outside if necessary. In the end, I'll have the bedroom sealed with the oxygenator and atmospheric regulator inside. It will be attached to the trailer via hoses to share the same atmosphere, and I'll run a power line through one of the hoses. The rover will serve as storage, because I won't need to get to the driving controls anymore, and the trailer will be completely empty, and I'll have a permanent bedroom. I'll even be able to use it as a workshop for whatever MOV modifications I need to do in parts that can fit through the trailer's airlock. Of course, if the atmospheric regulator or oxygenator have problems, I'll need to cut to the bedroom to get to them. But I've been here 492 souls and they've worked fine for the other time, so I will take that risk. Three pages left. I'm literally about to fall asleep. Not because of the book. I think it's because I'm lying down and my head's on a pillow. So of course, my brain's like, oh, must be time to sleep, right? Log entry soul 497. I'll be at the entrance to Chaparral. I'll be at the entrance to Chaparral tomorrow. Presuming nothing goes wrong, that is. But hey, everything else has gone smoothly this mission, right? Today's an air day, and for once I don't want it. I'm so close to Chaparral I can taste it. I guess it would taste like sand mostly, but that's not the point. Of course, that won't be the end of the trip. It will take another 3 souls to get from the entrance to the Mav, but woohoo, I'm almost there. I think I can even see the rim of Schiaparelli. It's way off in the distance, and it might just be my imagination. It's 62 kilometers away, so if I'm seeing it, I'm only just barely seeing it. Tomorrow, once I get to an entrance crater, tomorrow, once I get to Watney Crater, I'll turn around and enter the Schiaparelli Basin via the entrance range. I did some back-of-the-napkin math, and the slope should be pretty safe. The elevation change from the rim to the basin is 1.5 kilometers, and the ramp is at least 45 kilometers long. That makes for a 2-degree grade, no problem. Tomorrow night, I'll sink to an all-new low. Let me rephrase that. Tomorrow night, I'll be at rock bottom. No, that doesn't sound good either. Tomorrow night, I'll be in Giovanni Schiaparelli's favorite hole. Okay, I admit I'm just playing around now. Okay, now it's the last break. For millions of years, the rim of the crater has been under constant attack from wind. It eroded the rocky crest the way a river cuts through a mountain range. After eons, it finally breached the edge. The high-pressure zone created by the wind now had an avenue to drain. The breach widened more and more with each passing millennium. As it widened, dust and sand particles carried along with the attack and settled in the basin below. Eventually, a balance point was reached. The sand had piled up high enough to be flush with the land outside the crater. It no longer built upward, but outwards. The slope lengthened until a new balance point was reached, one defined by the complex interactions of countless tiny particles and their ability to maintain an angled slope. Entrance ramp had been born. The weather brought dunes and desert terrain. Nearby crater impacts brought rocks and boulders. The shape became uneven. Gravity did its work. The ramp compressed over time, but it did not compress evenly. Differing densities shrunk at differing rates. Some areas became hard as rock, while others remained as soft as talc. While providing a small average slope into the crater, the ramp itself was rugged and bitterly uneven. On reaching Watney Crater, the lone inhabitant of Mars turned his vehicle towards the Schiaparelli Basin. The difficult terrain of the ramp was unexpected, but it looked no worse than other terrain he routinely navigated. He went around the smaller dunes and carefully crested the larger ones. He took care with every turn, every rise or fall in elevation, and every boulder in his path. He thought through every course and considered all alternatives. But it wasn't enough. The rover, while descending down a seemingly ordinary slope, drove off an invisible ridge. The dense hard soil immediately gave way to soft powder. With the entire surface covered by at least 5 centimeters of dust, there was no visible hints to their sudden change. The rover's left front wheel sank. The sudden tilt brought the right rear wheel completely off the ground. This in turn put more weight on the left rear wheel, which slipped from its precarious perches into the powder as well. Before the traveler could react, the rover rolled on its side, and as it did, the solar cells nearly stacked on the roof flew off and scattered like a dropped deck of cards. The trailer, attached to the rover with a toe clamp, was dragged along. The torsion on the clamp snapped the strong composite like a brittle twig. The hoses connecting the two vehicles also snapped. The trailer plunged headlong into the soft soil and flipped over on its balloon roof, shuddering to an abrupt halt. The rover was not so lucky. It continued tumbling down the hill, bouncing the traveler around like clothes in a dryer. I love the similes here. After 20 meters, the soft powder gave way to more solid sand and the rover shuddered to a halt. It had come to rest on its side. The valves leading to the now missing hoses had detected the sudden pressure drop and closed. The pressure seal was not breached. The traveler was alive for now. freaking know. My throat is killing me. I'm actually almost about to sleep. Ugh, man.